Hello, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into a brand new episode of Spencer Talks NASCAR. I'm your host, Spencer Urquhart, here, ready to gear up for a brand new one today. Going to preview Phoenix Raceway, Shriners Children's 500 going down on Sunday. Excited to see how that race goes. Been a really good start to the 2024 season so far. Three really exciting races: Daytona, Atlanta, Las Vegas, a trio of bangers so far. Hopefully Phoenix can make that four in a row. You know, typically Phoenix, kind of a chalk track that tends to reward the drivers that run well. That's kind of like how Las Vegas was. Kyle Larson, as we discussed in the last episode, won easily, but at least he had some challengers, especially Tyler Reddick. Not like he was able to just win by 10 seconds or something boring like that. At least Reddick closed the gap at the end and made it somewhat interesting. Interesting. Can't even talk today. Plus, the strategy aspect was somewhat interesting there with some of the two tire stuff and different issues with tires. At these intermediates, tires tend to be a big issue, and pit road in general tends to be a big thing since there aren't a whole lot of cautions typically at these kind of tracks that are more driver friendly, I'd say, as far as the driver tends to have more control of the outcome of their finish. It just got to avoid those pit road mistakes, man. Like with my guy Kyle Busch, really cost himself on pit road, and Richard Childress Racing, for those that didn't know, made even more changes to Kyle Busch's pit crew. Hopefully those can help him get better moving forward, because they've had some rocket ships to start the season. Speed has not been the issue for Kyle Busch. It has been pit road. And we discussed that he dropped a little bit in the power rankings, which for those wondering about the power rankings, I do a top 10 Cup Series drivers rankings each week. I'll do that in the early week episode, though. So for those interested in that, y'all can go back and check that out. But let's get into this one, y'all. Previewing Phoenix. Gonna see what this race is talking about. Got some best bets for y'all. And for those that stick around to the end, for those true diehard NASCAR fans, silly season never stops. Silly season speculation is year round. And for those that love to talk about that year round, including myself, I know some of y'all are like, come on, man, silly season for 2025. We just started 2024. And I get it. For those that just want to watch the race preview and get some best bets, you know, we'll get to that first, so you don't have to stick around the whole time. But I know a lot of y'all do love the early silly season talk. And I've got some very juicy takes for y'all, including Kyle Busch, who got brought up recently as someone that could be on the move this offseason. And I'll just leave it at that. We'll get more into that at the end of the episode. But let's get into this Phoenix race preview, y'all. We're going to go through the odds. We're going to break the field up in 5 groups. I'm going to do it like that this week and see which drivers I like, and then go and make the best bet picks, the picks that I feel are going to add value to your bankroll for those that like to bet. And then got a few alternate plays as well. Got 4 best bets. I got a pick to win, a top 3 play, a top 5 play, and a top 10 play. And then some alternate plays if you're kind of like, I don't really like those as best bets. You know, I've got some alternate plays to consider as well. So a total of 8 best bets this week. 4 that I really like, 4 that might put a little bit on. So let's get into it here. Let's go through the field for those that just want a breakdown of the field that aren't worried about betting. Let's do that here. So we're just going to go over the drivers here. Not going to focus too much on the odds just yet. Might mention them here and there, but mainly just going to talk about each driver. So shows that the favorites here, Kyle Larson, favorite once again. He was the favorite last week at Vegas. Won outright. I called that. He was my pick to win last week and delivered despite being such a heavy favorite on the odds chart. I wasn't scared off by that. I went ahead and picked Kyle Larson. This week is going to probably be a little different, though, but I got to admit, Kyle Larson, the best driver in the Cup Series right now. He's number 1 in my power rankings. Wouldn't shock me if he won again, but I feel like Phoenix is a little more wide open, especially for the Ford guys like Ryan Blaney. Blaney's the only Ford driver up among the favorites, but fact is Ryan Blaney has been dominant at Phoenix in recent seasons. Even though he hadn't won a race here, he's finished second now the past 3 races at Phoenix, and he's been knocking on the door, led a lot of laps. almost won it last year, the finale. But lost out to Ross Chastain, but didn't really matter. Blaney was looking for the championship, and he got that. He got the prize that he was coveting there with his first Cup Series championship. So felt like a win, even though the record books will show that Ross Chastain got the win. And speaking of Chastain, he's right here among the favorites there at a four-way group there at 9-1 with Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and Martin Truex Jr. And I got to say, Chastain, feel like might be getting a little bit slept on in this race. I thought there was a chance he might open as the favorite, but Larson, Blaney, and William Byron at the top there. William Byron, I mean, let's just get to him before we get to the other four, because he's, I'd say, right up there with Blaney and Larson. He's a Daytona 500 winner, the defending winner of this race here at Phoenix, the Phoenix Spring Race. And he's someone that I feel is going to run well again. And it wouldn't shock me if he won again. He's right up there. Him, Blaney, Larson. It's splitting hairs. Just pick your poison there. You can't go wrong with any of those three. But yeah, Chastain was really dominant last year in the season finale. Led the most laps, and he's someone that ever since the next gen car has been introduced, he's run really well here at Phoenix. So I expect him to be among the front runners again. Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr., those three Gibbs Toyotas all up there. It's just a little surprising that they're still among the elite favorites, because Toyota and JGR the past few years have not run very well at Phoenix. I mean, they've been up front some, but they haven't gotten the results that they've liked. Hamlin and Truex, former Phoenix winners. C. Bell never won here before, but Toyota's cars have run really well this season, so it wouldn't shock me if they get back up among the front runners this week, and the odds seem to think they will. And so I'm not going to have too many Toyotas among my best bets this week, considering their struggles here recently. But there will be one of these. I'm just going to give y'all a hit. One of those three will be in my best bets. But as far as this race, though, I mean, they've all got a shot to run pretty well. It wouldn't shock me if either of the three would steal the win, because, I mean, everyone's talking about the Penske's, Blaney and the Penske Ford, and Chastain, Byron, Larson. I feel like those are going to be the four most picked to win the race, but these Gibbs Toyotas might spoil the party. So let's move on now to our next group of drivers here. Oh, let's see it. There we go. All right, so our next group of 7 here: Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Chase Briscoe. Probably a little surprised to see Chase Briscoe up this high, but Chase Briscoe has run really well at Phoenix over the years. He won this race in 2022. That was only a couple of years ago. I know Stuart Haas has pretty much fallen off a cliff ever since then, but don't sleep on Chase Briscoe, y'all. He's really good here. You can make a case that this is his best track. This is probably, for sure, his best oval. He's a road course guy, so I feel like might be a little better at some of the road courses. But as far as ovals, man, Chase Briscoe is very good at Phoenix. He's more of a short track guy, so he had a dirt racing background from Indiana. So, yeah, he's someone that should run well at Phoenix again this week. Chris Buescher, he's an interesting name. He's been he hadn't had a very good start to this season, but last week wasn't really his fault. I mean, with the tire, his race was over before it started, so he don't really have a good gauge of where Chris Buescher's at right now. So this would be a race that he needs to run well to try to make up some of those points he lost last week. And then Ty Gibbs, what an impressive run last week. Finished top 5 at Vegas, ran up front all day, had some pit road adversity, but still managed to finish top 5. Very strong run for the young Gibbs kid. He's really on the rise. His stock is soaring up. If he runs well again this week, he might crack my top 10 power rankings. Yeah, he's running very well right now. Chase Elliott is someone that's been a tad disappointing to start the season. He hadn't had any DNFs, though, so he's in a solid points position, but just hadn't really run up front a whole lot. Phoenix is one of his better tracks, though, so I'm thinking Elliott might be able to break his dry spell as far as not running up front, but he'll have to beat his teammates if he wants to win. Byron and Larson, really freaking good. Tyler Reddick ran well last week. Not quite as good at shorter ovals as intermediates, but wouldn't shock me if he ran well. I mean, I think there could be some value here from a betting standpoint, considering he's a little slept on compared to his Toyota teammates. And Joey Logano, man, he has just been off to a rough start. He won the pole at Vegas, but then just didn't really have much to show for it. Phoenix is one of his better tracks, though, so he could maybe make a surprise run. I'm just kind of down on Ford right now as a whole, but, I mean, Logano, we know what he can do, so he's still not too far behind the favorites. And then Kyle Busch has shown a lot of speed to start the year, and Phoenix recently hadn't been that great of a track for him, but throughout his career, Kyle Busch has run well at Phoenix. Kyle Busch used to be a short track guy, but it seems like the past few years he's kind of lost his mojo at the shorter ovals. But this could be a good opportunity for him to get it back. All right, next group here after Briscoe begins with Brad Keselowski there at 28-1, followed by Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell, and Ryan Preece. I guess we'll just go over all 8 of these here for y'all. Keselowski, similar spot to Buescher, as far as we're not really sure where RFK's at right now. I don't want to panic about RFK, but they haven't gotten off to a good start. Normally they run really well at the plate tracks, but they had bad luck there. So this could be a good opportunity for them to show that they're still one of those on the rise type teams. Same for Bubba with 23-11. He had a messed up race last week, had lug nut issues. So it's going to be an opportunity for him to prove himself. Alex Bowman had kind of a mess start to the year outside of that runner-up at Daytona. Hadn't really had much success at Phoenix, I don't believe. But he's in a Hendrick car, and all his teammates run well here, so he could be a sleeper play. Noah Gragson has really gotten off to a good start this year. 2 top 10s. 2 top 10s in 3 races. Really impressive stuff. Got hit with the stiff points penalty, though, so he's still mired back in the standings. But if he can keep racking up top 10s, he'll make up that stuff in a hurry, so wouldn't probably put him among the best bets this week. I think that start might be a tad bit of a fluke considering Stewart-Haas off as a whole. But, hey, I mean, Noah's run well. Then Josh Berry, his teammate, one of the other new Stewart-Haas guys, I think he's in a good spot this week. It's safe to say he'll be among my best bets. Josh Berry did really well here last year, filling in for Chase Elliott. He's more of a short track guy. I think him and Chase Briscoe are the 2 Stewart-Haas guys to watch. I really do. I'm not as high on Gragson this week. I think Berry, if you're looking for a sleeper, I think Berry's a good play this week. Daniel Suarez could also be interesting. He's gotten off to a good start. Obviously got the win in Atlanta, so might be able to afford to take some more chances, being that they've got that win under their belt, might be able to try some strategy stuff. That's kind of what he did last week. He ended up leading a good amount of laps. Didn't necessarily have the fastest car, but did some different strategies there. Ended up with a solid finish. So keep an eye on him. Michael McDowell and Ryan Preece. That's we're getting now into the long shots here. McDowell, I mean, he's someone that I wouldn't bet on him per se, but he might sneak a top 10 because he's a guy that's good at these wars of attrition, being a veteran driver, seems to get the most out of his equipment. Front row now at the Penske Alliance, might have a little better cars here. And then Preece is kind of like his teammates with Berry and Briscoe, and he's more of a short track guy, so wouldn't shock me if he ran well too. He could be a long shot to look at. I would prefer the teammates, though. I feel like they're probably a little better here, but I think I'd rather Preece over Gragson. I think Gregson's probably more my guy at the intermediates for Stewart-Haas, but at the shorter ovals, I'll probably fade Gragson and go with his teammates there. Because Stewart-Haas, at certain tracks, I mean, you don't completely write them off. I mean, they've got 4 cars, and those 4 guys all have talent. So I feel like the odds makers have written off Stewart-Haas, but, you know, you got to find value. And right now, Stewart-Haas's stock is really down. And so that means that there's a chance that you could find value with them, because it's not like they're just going to quit showing up to the racetrack. I mean, yeah, their team's in flux right now. They might be switching to Chevy next year. and all that, but you know they're still going to bust ass and put out cars there that, I'm not saying they're going to win the race, but they might be able to crack the top 10 some weeks. So we'll see what Priest can do there. But after him, yeah, a lot of the long shots there at 100-1. We'll go over them real quick. Eric Jones leads away in this next group, followed by Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, Corey LaJoie, John Hunter Nemechek, Carson Hocevar, Ricky Stenhouse, and Zane Smith. Eric Jones, Legacy Motor Club, didn't show a whole lot at Vegas. Both their cars, though, I believe, at the season end of the day, they'd be in the playoffs. So they've run okay, but they haven't had the speed that I was thinking they would so far. But they have time. They still got a huge amount of races left. So Jones and JHN have time. But yeah, right now I wouldn't play them as far as anything to do with betting until they show me a little more. Cindric and Dillon, the Austins. Cindric might be getting a little bit slept on, although he squandered his opportunity last week. Dillon ran pretty good, though, at Vegas. So, but neither one of them have shown me enough to feel good about. Corey LaJoie, though, I think he was getting kind of slept on here. I know he's more of a plate guy, does better at the bigger ovals, but he's capable of running pretty good pretty much anywhere, and he's in a Spire car. Spire showing speed. So I'd say him, Hocevar, Zane Smith, if you're looking for some super deep long shots, could all be interesting there. LaJoie and Hocevar had a little bit of beef last week, but I think they'll be fine. Hocevar is he's young. I mean, you got to be patient with him. Zane Smith, I think, is someone that he hadn't really gotten a fair shake so far this year. He's had so much bad luck to start the year. I think this might be a week a lot of books don't have top 20, but if they do, I think he's a good bet to be a top 20 finisher this week. And then Stenhouse, I mean, he's a solid veteran. He might stick around the top 50 the top 20, but Phoenix, not one of his better tracks, so could end up lost in the sauce there. And here's the rest of the field. Gilliland, Harrison Burton, Dan Hemrick, a few more here. Yeah, my bad, yeah. I think it's kind of bugging as more you scroll. Derek Kraus for Colleague. Man, Colleague, they're really at the bottom of the barrel, I'd say. And then Rick Ware Racing with Kaz Grala and Justin Haley. Yeah, Rick Ware and Colleague right now are at the butt end of the field. Those teams are really struggling, as well as Wood Brothers. I mean, Harrison Burton, their teams are just off right now. And the funny thing with that is that it's not like any of these teams are just like starting park, like not giving a damn type thing. I mean, these teams are all trying to compete. That's the beauty of NASCAR right now. All the chartered teams with this charter system, I got to say the charter system has worked wonders as far as making in the field a lot more balanced, more competitive. It's definitely done the job because, I mean, Rick Ware Racing. I mean, Justin Haley and Kaz Grala, those guys are not just bums. I mean, those are talented race car drivers. Rick Ware Racing, though, they're just behind the 8-ball compared to the rest of the field. But, I mean, it's not like those guys are just bums. Like I said, they're solid drivers. They're just not in the best equipment. So, Colleague, man, I'm worried about Colleague. I mean, I think Hemrick did okay last week. I think he squeaked out top 20, but losing AJ Allmendinger, that hurts, man. I mean, if you had the Dinger in that 16 car still, I mean, he'd at least probably be up among like with the Stenhouse and LaJoie range, where now you got, I mean, Derek Kraus. I mean, we don't know what the hell he's going to do. I don't like the direction Colleague's going. They're the team that they might have to sell a charter, which I think we're going to get to that in that silly season discussion. I mean, Stewart-Haas, everyone's saying they might sell one. But Colleague's a team that, I mean, we think Stewart-Haas is down bad. Lord, Colleague, my gosh, that's a team that has really not grown like people were thinking, because Spire is the young Chevy team that's really taken off. Colleague has just been a bust pretty much since joining the Cup Series. I know the Dinger ran pretty well, but I mean, you basically demoted him back to Xfinity. I mean, he was your best driver and you sent him down, and now you just have a bunch of part-timers in that 16 car. Like, what the hell is that? And then Daniel Hemrick. I mean, let's be real. Daniel Hemrick wouldn't have that car if it wasn't for funding. I mean, Colleague Racing, their team's really gone down. They might have to do like JTG. I remember JTG went to 2 full-time cars and then just had to go back to 1. And that seems to have worked well. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I mean, he's not great, but he's at least respectable there in the single car for JTG. So I'm thinking Colleague might be better to just sell one of those charters. So, but yeah, Todd Gilliland was disappointing. He led all those laps the first 2 weeks, but didn't show much at Vegas. He needs to finish a race, man. He's just had too many just mess ups there. But I think this could be a week that he does okay. He seems to do, him and McDowell at front row, they seem to do pretty well last year in these wars of attrition. They'd be able to kind of scrap out top 20 to 25 finishes, even if their cars aren't that great. So I wouldn't count out Todd Gilliland. I think he could do pretty well. So, all right, that's the field rundown there. Let's get into our best bets now. I'm going to have them scrolling across the ticker. So there y'all go. For those that just want them and don't care about analysis, there they are. Those are my 4. But I know a lot of y'all do want analysis. So let's see. All right, so we'll start off with, we'll go through the top 10 to start off here. I mean, most of these are unbettable. Like, to me, anything here, these top 6, if you're minus 200 or below, it's like, I mean, I know these are great drivers, but I'm not laying that much juice on someone to finish top 10. You never know what can happen in these races. So I'm not messing with any of this. So I would say my favorite play for top 10 is Josh Berry here, and you can get him. I noticed normally DraftKings has good prices, but this week DraftKings prices are kind of like not that great. Maybe because people like me have been winning money against them, so now they're kind of making their prices not as good. But I noticed Josh Berry at FanDuel is a really good deal, plus 320 to finish top 10. I mentioned earlier why I like Josh Berry. He's a short track guy. He ran well here last year, filling in for Chase Elliott, recorded a top 10 in that 9 car. And while his Stewart-Haas equipment's not on that level, it's solid. And plus, he's with the team that was Kevin Harvick's team, that Ford team with Stewart-Haas. And we all know how dominant Kevin Harvick was here at Phoenix. So I feel like at plus 260, that's a great value for Josh Berry. We got last week's top 10 best bet right in Ty Gibbs. So I'm thinking that Berry could keep that train going, and you get more value with him. Ty Gibbs thing was just like a plus 110 type thing, where Berry, if he hits, like, let's just say you lay $10, you win 26, or if you want to do more, 100, 260. Like, just don't bet beyond your means. Obviously, bet responsibly, gamble responsibly. Just view this as entertainment. I'm not advocating for anyone to bet their house or some crazy amount of money on this stuff, but yeah, Josh Berry, I think, is a very good value there at plus 260. And in my alternate play for top 10 is teammate Chase Briscoe at about even money. He's plus 105 actually at Caesars Sportsbook. So not too much difference there, whether you want to play it here or at Caesars. I mean, again, just shop around. I'm not sponsored by any of these sports books, so play with whichever one your heart desires. So here at DK, there's minus 105. So he's basically even to finish top 10. And I think that's good value because he normally does finish top 10 here. Where, I mean, guys, look at this. So you've got way more than 10. That's what's kind of messed up about this. I mean, how do you expect 2, 4, 6, 8, 10? Like, these guys should be even money. Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. There's no value. I mean, these guys are projected to finish 11th and 12th, and you're having to pay juice. The books, man, they really try to squeeze you. So I would be very selective about what I play. That's what I do. That's why I only have 8 best bets. Don't just start betting the board and all that. Like, you can, I think these 10 and finish top 10 better. No, don't bet all 10 that you think are going to finish top 10. Just pick a couple that you feel are good values. And so that's what I'm doing here with Briscoe and Berry, because I mean, you can't really get value with this. I mean, Larson, minus 400, you lay 40 to win 10, and if he wrecks and you out 40, that's insane to me. I would never take a favorite to finish top 10. no matter how confident you are that they will, because it's racing, man. You never know what can happen with just blown tires, engine failures, just wrecks. I mean, there's so many uncontrolled variables. So that is absurd that the books are allowed to get away with those heinous prices. But that's just my humble opinion. Keep betting if y'all would like, because I think there are some values here. I mean, then in top five, let's get to top five here. Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell is my top play to finish top five there at plus 160. He is actually plus 170 at BetMGM. Not a huge difference there, but a little better value over at MGM. And I just think Bell's in a good spot to finish top five. I mentioned I like one of these JGR guys. I like Bell because I feel like Bell's going to be the one that's going to be driving the most, needing to make up points. Because, I mean, Hamlin and Truex, I mean, they're both good plays. But I just think Bell is the one that, and he's so talented and capable. Like, he's the guy that, I think he's the current star of JGR, as far as he's the one that he's pretty much was thrown into that next gen car and all that, where I feel like guys like Hamlin and Truex, I mean, certain tracks they're still really good at, but they haven't been all that great at Phoenix recently. Bell hadn't either. He's had his share of struggles here, but last year in the finale, we don't know what he'd have done. He had an issue and got knocked out of the race early. I think he may have done well and been a threat to win the championship. Just had something out of his control cost him. So I think he's going to be looking for redemption. To win 9-1, it's not great. In the top three, maybe, but I just think the top five number is something I'd feel comfortable with. Another driver I like to finish top five. I picked him last week. Didn't work out, but I'm going to try again with him. Chase Elliott, because Phoenix is one of his better tracks. I was a little ambitious about the Vegas pick. I was just thinking his 9 team would be right where they were like in 2022, but they've still got some growing pains to go through trying to get back to that level. But I think this is the week they could get there, because Elliott has been really good at Phoenix over the years. So I'm not sleeping on Chase this week. You know, it'd be easy to just be like, he failed me last week, I'm not messing with him this week. But he ran okay last week. I mean, he was right around the top 10. It's not like he was way off like Bowman. So I think at this number, he's actually plus 250 at a different book. I think MGM as well. MGM seems to be the best place to get top five values. So Chase Elliott finished top five. My alternate play, Bell, is my best play for top five. All right, so top three in to win. I've got 2 guys that I really like for this, and that's Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney. So to finish top 3, Chastain is my best play for that. He is plus 280 at Caesars, plus 260 here at DK. So either way, you're getting pretty good value there, because I feel like Chastain is one of the 3 best here. I'd probably say I'd like him a little more than Byron, but I can understand why they have Byron ahead, because I mean, Byron's a Hendrick car and he won the race last year. But just from the way they ran at the Phoenix fall race, it was Chastain, Blaney, and Larson that were the top 3. Byron wasn't too far off, but if those recent trends continue, I think there's some value on Chastain to finish top 3. And Blaney's my pick to win. I think RB is going to finally break through and get his first career win at Phoenix, plus 650 to win. He's plus 700 at all the other books. Like I said, DraftKings price is not that great this week, but I think he's 7-1. Blaney is at FanDuel, Caesars, or MGM. So whichever one your heart desires, get Blaney there at 7-1 to win. He's my pick. I think he's in a really good spot this week to get it done. He's come so close here at Phoenix over the years. And with all the talk about Ford being down, they need to make a statement this week, man. Ford has got to do better this week. I know it's just 3 races, but their cars have just looked behind Chevy and Toyota. And you know they're itching to get that Ford Dark Horse Mustang in the victory lane. And it would be a big win for them, not only just to show that they're back, but Toyota hadn't won this year. It's all been Chevys. Byron, Larson, and Suarez have been the 3 winners this year. So, you know, maybe C. Bell spoils the party, but Toyota recently has not been too good here at Phoenix. Where Blaney, though, I mean, even though Ford as a whole hadn't been that great, Blaney has been right up there with all these Chevy guys that have been really good here. So I'm going to take Blaney to win. And also alternate plays. He's plus 220 at Caesars to finish top 3. I feel like that's a pretty good value, a good hedge to where if he doesn't win, you can get him top 3. That's what I did with him in Atlanta, and it paid off. Bet him to win and top 3, and at least he got that top 3, got that second place finish there. So that paid off. And then Chastain to win. If Blaney doesn't get it done, you could take a chance on Chastain there at 9-1. And this is actually finally a DraftKings price that's the best price. I think at most books he's like 8-1. So Chastain to win here at DraftKings, pretty good value there. 9-1. I think that's very solid for someone that I think should be closer to where Byron's at. So it's all about value here with this betting stuff. Even though Blaney's my pick to win, I think Chastain's a solid hedge in case he doesn't. All right, y'all. So that's going to conclude it for the best bets portion of this. I have to include my alternate plays there. Yeah, Chastain to win, Blaney top 3, Elliott top 5, Briscoe top 10. All right, y'all. Let's get into this early silly season talk. We're going to make it brief here, but it's a couple topics I want to bring up. The first one, Kyle Busch. Can't even talk. Kyle Busch to leave RCR after 2024? I know that sounds nuts considering he just joined, but I was watching different channels there. Shout out to, I believe it's William Blackwell. He had brought it up. He's been all over the early silly season news, and more so rumors at this point. There's no real news. The Stewart Haas thing is news / rumors. The news is that the Ford contract is ending. That's facts. But as far as him switching to Chevy, that's just rumors at this point. But let's get to the Kyle Busch stuff. That's all rumors at this point. But apparently, Kyle Busch's contract, again, I'm not 100% sure on any of this stuff. Just take all this with a grain of salt. Just sit back and have fun for the next 5 minutes or so, because none of this is official. We're just speculating. Just want to make that clear for y'all. But according to, I believe it was Spotrac, a site that does sports contract tracking, tracks all the contracts for NFL players, MLB players, NBA players, basically any major sport that has big contracts handed out. Spotrac is on it and lets fans know when their favorite players are going to hit free agency. And I use it a lot as a media member to track when these guys are set to hit the market, when someone's in a contract year, the terms of their contract, how much they're making, are there any options in the contract, bonuses, all that. So as far as NASCAR, it's hard to know with NASCAR contracts because they don't really disclose the information like they do in other sports. They usually just give the length of the contract. They normally don't give how much money there is or if there are options involved or not. But according to Spotrac, the Kyle Busch contract that he signed with RCR was a 2-year contract with an option for 2025, which seems a little short to me. I'd have thought the Kyle Busch contract would have been like a 4 or 5 year deal, especially considering that his son essentially signed a futures contract with him. I mean, it probably was somewhat of a PR stunt considering how young Braxton Busch is, but I thought that Kyle would have at least signed a longer deal than that, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he signed a shorter deal in the chance that RCR didn't really have the cars he was hoping for, and that then if it didn't work out, he could get out of it after a couple years. And we'll see. I mean, so far his cars have been good. I don't think he'd be itching to get out. I think he'll stay at least for the next 3 or 4 years over there. And then he'd be toward the end of his Cup career. But I was thinking the other day, and this might sound crazy to y'all, but the way these things go, and you're a legend and you have so much success with one organization, a lot of times, even if the breakup's kind of ugly, you usually end up softening up and wanting to go back. And so I have a feeling that might not happen till 4 or 5 years from now, but I have a feeling that Kyle Busch is going to eventually end up back with Joe Gibbs Racing in some sort of way, being that he was with them for so long. And that Toyota, he was a key partner with Toyota, their best driver for over a decade. So call me crazy. I know that in the breakup was ugly, so he might just be like, screw them. I'm never going back. And I mean, I wouldn't blame him. I mean, they didn't really do right by him, but I feel like as the years go by, it gets easier to forgive and forget things from the past. So it just depends on how things go at RCR. Because I mean, let's be real. If Kyle would somehow end up back at JGR, they would for sure give him the best equipment, even if he was toward the end of the road in his career. He might be able to have like a resurgence with JGR because he's not that old. I mean, he's not even 40 years old yet. I definitely think he has at least 5 more solid years left in him because I think he's definitely going to want to try to get past Dale Earnhardt on the career wins list, which he probably is going to need at least another 5, 6, maybe even 7 more years to get there, considering how competitive the Cup Series field is right now. So I'm just saying it could happen. I'm not predicting it per se, but it would not shock me because, I mean, they basically retired the 18 at JGR. I mean, at least for now, they've temporarily retired it. So I think if Kyle would come back there, they'd obviously put him back in the 18. He built his brand in that car. They've had a lot of success there. Bobby Labonte won the championship there. That's a legendary number for JGR. That was the first ever number they had. So, I mean, who knows? We'll see. I mean, Joe Gibbs is getting old. Like, I mean, I think deep down he still wishes Kyle well. I know the ending, like I said, the ending was ugly, and he's a businessman. Like, I don't think he's obviously not openly rooting for Kyle, but it's like Kyle brought him so much success, so many wins, 2 championships. I believe Kyle Busch is the only driver to have gotten a championship for them since Tony Stewart. He's the only driver to have brought JGR a championship with Toyota. Obviously, Denny Hamlin's brought him a lot of success, but just saying, y'all, it wouldn't shock me. And then if it's true about the contract being short, and if things go haywire at RCR, and he really wants out and really wants to go back to JGR, I mean, theoretically, Martin Truex could retire and Kyle could slide right in with that team, and they could just renumber to 19 to 18. So just saying, there is a path to it, short term and long term, because I don't see him. Assuming he stays with Chevy, he's staying with RCR. I've heard these rumors. Oh, he could go to Colleague. He could go to Spire. Why? Why the hell would he want to, at his age, want to go with a team that's not proven? That just seems absurd to me. There's no way Kyle Busch, almost 40 years old, is going to want to go to a team that's not championship caliber. I mean, at this point in his career, Kyle Busch is ring chasing. I mean, he wants to try to pile up as many wins and championships as he can before he retires, because he's got a legacy going as one of the greatest to ever hop in a NASCAR Cup Series car. Like he is not going to waste years with a team that's not up to snuff. But so far, RCR has done the job. Some people had questions about RCR, so I'm just going to say that I think he stays with RCR. I like the fit, honestly. I think it's a good fit for him. They seem to be doing well sponsorship-wise, and they've got speed right now. So I'm just saying, if things do fall off, though, we all know how Kyle Busch is. He is a very hot-headed individual sometimes. So if things would go haywire with RCR, I mean, no one expected him to leave JGR, and he did. If he would happen to get upset with RCR and want out, then maybe he could go back to JGR, but we'll see what happens. All right, so moving on to Stewart-Haas real quick. Stewart-Haas, the rumors that they're going to Chevy. I addressed it some in the last podcast, so I was doing some thinking about that, and I'm thinking if they do go to Chevy, I mean, that'd be a lot of extra engines to build, and so I'm kind of thinking that the Dale Jr. stuff could be true. They could team up with Dale Jr., add him to the mix, and downsize the 3 cars to where they would only have to have 3 extra engines there. And at this point, they'd probably go to Hendrick engines, I would think. I think Hendrick has a little more flexibility. That's who they used to be with, was Hendrick engines. So I think they go back to that. 3 cars there. Barry and Gregson, they've worked with Junior before with Junior Motorsports, so I don't think they would stay. And Chase Briscoe, everyone's assuming he would jump ship to a Ford team, but Chase Briscoe signed a multi-year contract with Stewart-Haas a few years back. Not sure how long it is, but if it's good through like 25 or 26. He might be stuck there. So if they downsize to 3, Tony Stewart might be like, look, man, I mean, you were my handpicked guy for the 14. Like we want to keep you. And so maybe Briscoe drives a Chevy for the next few years. And then if things don't work out, then he could go back to Ford. But we'll see. Or maybe they'll just let him go back to Ford and then keep Priest or someone else in the third car. Because, yeah, if he would go to Ford, I would think front row would be the most logical destination. And then if he would do that, maybe then Todd Gilliland would get kicked to the Wood Brothers 21. And then they could kick Harrison Burton back down to the Xfinity series. Because let's be real, Harrison Burton has not looked Cup ready so far in his brief Cup career with the Wood Brothers. I definitely think he could use some seasoning in either the Xfinity or Truck Series. So obviously way too early to know about any of this. Just wanted to throw it out there. Probably won't have much more silly season talk till we get to like May or so. But it's just been a lot of speculation going around lately, especially on Williams' channel there, bringing up the Kyle Busch rumors. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I thought Kyle Busch was going to be with RCR for the long haul, but that's just my 2 cents on that. I think it's either he stays at RCR the rest of his career or ends up back at JGR and reunites with Toyota. But again, I'd say the odds are that he stays with RCR the rest of his career. But I would say if we'd have had this discussion a few years ago about JGR, we'd all been like, oh, well, I mean, maybe, but the odds are very much in favor that he retires with JGR, and didn't work out. So, hey, I mean, I kind of hope he just stays in the 8. I like this new hat I got here, so we'll see. But anyway, y'all, that's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate all y'all for rocking with us. It's been a lot of fun. We'll be back next week to see how Phoenix ends up, recap that, go over the power rankings and all. So, yeah, appreciate all y'all that have been rocking with us. Leave some feedback, y'all. Like, comment, sub, all that stuff. Let me know. I know these episodes have been kind of long. Let me know if y'all would rather them shorter. I could try to condense them some if y'all would rather that as opposed to these longer episodes. But I like to go in depth with topics. I like to, somebody might view it as rambling, but I view it as constructive thinking, damn it. So for those that like the deeper analysis, let me know. And maybe we could make them, maybe do live streams at some point and make them like an hour or something. But for those that just like shorter stuff, we'll try and appease both crowds. But just give feedback though, and let me know what you like about the show and what you don't and all that. I can take criticism. There's stuff y'all don't like. Don't be shy, let me know. I'm still new to this NASCAR podcasting scene, so I'm humble enough to realize that I'm not perfect, but trying my best here to bring y'all good NASCAR content each and every week. So for Spencer Talks NASCAR, this has been Spencer Urquhart. We will see y'all on the next one. Peace out. Enjoy the race on Sunday.